thrilled to be here today to talk about low risk, low cost digital fundraising for your small shop. We've been working quite hard on this presentation. We've tried to pack it with as much practical tips and support and advice as we can. So we have quite a bit to cover. And I hope that you find the slides as well when you're able to download them afterwards. And we hope that you find them really helpful because there is quite a bit of information there. We're going to do our best to keep this as engaging as possible throughout. But thanks again. It's a busy time of year. It means a lot to us that you've come. So speaking of coming, you're tuning in from likely all over the country, possibly the US. I hope you might take a moment just to acknowledge the ancestral land that you're on. I'm dialing in from Picton, Ontario, which is in Prince Edward County, but it is also the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. A little bit more about me. I'm a partner at Broccoli. We're a specialized consultancy for fundraisers, nonprofits. I'm also a part-time professor at Humber College in the business school. I wrote a book just about a year ago called From the Ground Up, Digital Fundraising for Nonprofits. Very proud of it. And I've worked in the nonprofit sector, largely in fundraising for close to going on to 15 years now. I've done quite a bit of that work in digital fundraising, but honestly, I've done a little bit of everything. And personally, on the personal side, I am a father of 2, and I try on the weekends to make things out of wood if I can find the time. Oh, if I could just add one more thing, is if for anyone who may be visually impaired, I am a white man, late 30s. I'm in a room with a largely white background. I have a window over my left-hand shoulder, and I have a sliding barn door over my right-hand shoulder.
Hi, everyone. I'm Wenchi O'Connell. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a middle-aged Asian woman with medium length hair, a dark green shirt, and glasses on. I'm sitting in my dining room in front of a window with some white orchids behind me. My home, where I'm speaking from, is in Toronto, on the land covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and where also many nations, including the Wendat, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee have lived before me, and I'm very grateful to live and work here. I've been working in the charitable space for about 20 years now, and I've done a range of things in my career, from writing grants and implementing public health projects for a tiny Pacific Island village with no running water or electricity, to working for nonprofits to develop their corporate partnership strategies, and to working for multinational corporations on their community impact projects. This all led me to this role with PayPal Giving Fund Canada, which has actually enabled me to realize my vision from my grad school days, which was to start up and run a charity doing impactful work. I know what it's like to wear many hats and to have to make very limited resources stretch in seemingly miraculous ways. So I'm hoping that the work that my charity is doing can help those of you who may be in that boat. On a personal level, I'm also a mom of 2 boys, and I immigrated here to Toronto, where my husband grew up, from California, where I grew up. I'm now awaiting word on my application for Canadian citizenship. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll pass it back over to Brock.
So if you're here, the title of the session, we hope, made it quite clear that our target audience here are very small shops who are in an early stage of their development. But maybe if it's helpful to set the stage to maybe better understand where you may or may not fall along a continuum of digital maturity in your organization, we're defining early stage small shops as having and seeking out low or no cost donation forms. If you're doing social media, you're not likely running paid campaigns. If you're slightly larger, a little further along in the continuum, then you might be using some custom forms so that you can track a little better. You may not yet be paying for social media, but you probably are doing some email marketing. And then mature organizations tend to have great form integrations with their CRM. They have automations in place. They're doing targeted campaigns, and they're doing a bunch of segmentation so that they can really deliver the right messages to the right people at the right time. Now, there is no good, bad on here. This is not a spectrum of you're not doing well to you are doing well. This is just trying to lay bare the realities of the many different stages that you might be at. And now, if you want to move from one to the next, there is time and there's effort and there's investments that need to take place. What would be really helpful for Wenchi and I now is to maybe get a sense of those of you who have tuned in on the call. We're going to pivot into a quick poll to tell us, where do you think you fit along the spectrum? We're going to have 5 options here on the screen, from my charity hasn't done anything digital at all, to the other end, that you're a mature organization who has form integrations with your CRM, just as one example. And in the middle, I would say that you're doing low or no cost online donations, unpaid social media. What do you think? We'll pause for just a moment longer. Okay, here's some results. All right, so we've got quite a few early. 44% of you are saying that you would fit yourself into early. And then the balance, the 22 in the first 2 options is also quite interesting. So there's potentially, 60, nearly 70% who would consider them early or even sub-early. So thank you so much for giving us those answers. That really helps set the stage. So Wenchi, back to you.
All right. So why do we hope your investment of this hour of your life will be worth it? We realize that many smaller shops may be feeling a bit overwhelmed when it comes to going digital. You may not know where or how to start, or you may be hearing about lots of solutions to all of your digital fundraising problems, but you're in a situation where you barely have the resources to support the important work that you're doing in our communities, or to just keep the lights on. So investing in a suite of services just might not be a possibility right now. We want to provide you with some of the basics around digital fundraising. What are some of the trends and the key stats that help us understand what's going on? We'll then provide you with some tangible next steps and that will get you into the digital fundraising that are low risk and low cost. Finally, we hope you will come away with confidence that there are things you can do despite limited resources. And this is how we're going to deliver on that promise. Brock is going to provide a primer on Canada's digital fundraising landscape. I'll provide an overview on how PayPal Giving Fund Canada works and the tools that we power at no cost to charities or donors. And then Brock and I will go through the actionable steps you can take to make all of this information work for you. We welcome your questions in the chat, and Marina will help to ask those questions for us to answer during the Q&A time that we'll have at the end. Right, so let's get started.
So I thought it would be very helpful to have a baseline understanding of the context in which we're operating right now. So there has been quite a bit of change over the past, however long it's been, 20 months. You could tell me it's been 48 months, and I'd probably believe you. Life has changed quite a bit for many Canadians. And so if we're to put ourselves in the shoes of the donors, from the donor perspective, so much has changed. Wenchi, if you don't mind advancing the slide. The donor perspective has changed quite a bit in so far as digital experiences are now integrated into so many of our donors or potential donors' lives now in ways that were never on the radar or being taken advantage of pre-COVID. This can mean video conferencing with doctors, nurses, counselors, online grocery orders, click and collect, wellness apps. So many of these things were never considered by donors before. I can say, my parents, my in-laws, my grandparents, they would never have taken advantage of any of these, but necessity has pushed them to do this. And I think that we're going to be reaching very soon. It will be a common part of life. And charities have to be aware of this. Like, charities need to understand that we are not exempt from the expectations of consumers. And some research has started to show this. We've curated a few samples of data and some statistics from some sector research that's happened over the last year. 2021 has had some really helpful research done largely on behaviors and activities in 2020. So these are the most up-to-date that we have. on the whole, I have 3 stats here that give me some cautious optimism that many of the new online donors that are coming in, that have given for maybe the first time online in the past 20 months, that they might be here to stay. And a sign that we see that might be true is that online giving increased by 86%. Total giving did decrease, unfortunately. So it's not to say that this is a fully good news story, but more people gave online likely than had given in the year before. And many of those were probably first gifts. We know that donors 55 plus were more generous, and that in itself may not stand out as a significant change from the past. We know that as people get a little older, they have some more disposable income to be able to give donations from, but combined with the boost in online giving means that online giving is no longer something that you could assume only younger generations do. And many of the respondents who were surveyed said that they were very likely to give again over the following 12 months. And if their experiences have been good, then it's likely that they'll give again online. And these habits might begin to form and might be resilient over the next decade or more. Next, we have some data at our disposal to try and understand how are these people making those decisions to give. We can see from a research study by PayPal in April 2021, we can see that donors are carefully researching who they give to before they give that donation. And we can also see from AFP's 2021 What Canadian Donors Want survey that the website is really driving that forward. So while it can be very tempting to chase the latest trends and the latest TikTok viral dance trends, or to try and cheat the system or to like circumvent best practice, these are really helpful reminders that we have fundamentals to do first, and we should be trying to do them really well. And payment processing tools fit right into that. That PayPal research that I referenced earlier shows that PayPal is seen as a trustworthy, convenient, and fast tool for donations. So if you want to build trust and you want to build trust quickly, I would choose a platform and a processing partner that your donors are going to trust. And with this big influx of new donations, these new donors, sometimes the first gifts, they're not all likely going to stick around. Not only are the donors not going to stick around, but those charities who maybe came online for the first time in the past year, they may not stick around either. And Canada Helps completed some research that shows this to be very likely true. They found that 58% of charities with less than 100,000 in annual revenue, that might sound like you based on the poll we did earlier, have no plans to integrate digital into everyday activities. That the mindset may very well be that they just want to return to normal and they would just want to go right back to the way things were after COVID as soon as they're able to do so. Now, I know I threw some shade at social media two slides ago, but it can't be forgotten entirely. Should you build your entire fundraising program around social media fundraising? I don't think so, but you shouldn't forget it either. And that's because Facebook is mentioned as one of the most common ways that donors are learning about brand new charities. Most donors, 54% from the PayPal research found that social media was how they learned about that charity for the very first time, and family and friends close behind. And what I suspect is that there may be overlap between those two as well. It may very well be, given how virtual our lives have been, that family and friends on social media are how we're learning about the new charities that we choose to support. And now if I could sum this all up, I would say first and foremost, this 86% growth rate that I mentioned right off the top, it's not likely sustainable. If you're a charity who is maybe seeing that type of growth in your file, you may want to make sure that you're just setting expectations that it's not going to be sustainable. Thousands more charities have come online. These are very likely the smallest charities and the newest charities. They've come online, and if the space is feeling crowded, it's because it is, but they may not stick around forever. I think that the charities that can grow a really meaningful community of loyal supporters who are engaging in interesting and meaningful ways, then those are the charities that are going to stick around, that are going to grow, and they're going to come out a lot stronger than when they went into the pandemic from a digital fundraising standpoint. These new donors who are coming in, don't lose sight of the fact that every new donor brings with it a plethora of new opportunities. They may have given a $15 donation one time online 8 months ago, but if you manage to keep them in your circle and build a strong relationship with them, it's entirely possible that they could be a next legacy giving prospect, a next major donor prospect. They might have corporate relationships that you'll be able to tap. They could even be another board member. So don't lose sight of the fact of the many opportunities that could flow after that very first donation if you do your job well to keep them. And lastly, effective retention strategies. That's what I'm referring to. If you have a strong retention strategy in place, even if simple, well executed, it could be the key to your continued growth over the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Brock, I'm going to jump in for just a moment, and I'm just going to suggest, Wenxi, we are getting a little bit of feedback from your end. So if you don't mind, when you're not presenting, if you don't mind just muting yourself, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me start out by explaining what PayPal Giving Fund Canada is and what we do. PayPal Giving Fund Canada is a registered charity with the CRA, and our mission is to help charities and people participate in digital fundraising and to make giving a part of everyday life. If you think about what the things we do on the internet today, we shop for things, we browse social media, and so what we're working to do is to insert charitable giving into all of those situations, and we are partnering with the tech platforms in order to do that. We also want to make sure charities, no matter their size or ability or resourcing, can benefit from these new forms of online giving. These last 18 months and the significant challenges faced, particularly by smaller charities like you all, have shown us that our mission to connect charities with donors online is ever more critical, especially since we are enabling online fundraising and giving at no cost to charities or donors. 100% of the money that we receive is passed on to the charities recommended by our donors. We are an independent charity that works with well-known partners such as Facebook, GoFundMe, Humble Bundle, and of course PayPal to enable fundraising on their online platforms, which is where many millions and really billions of people are spending their time online. The future we are working toward is one where every online transaction or experience offers an opportunity to make a charitable donation. So we also have a number of other partners in the pipeline as well. I work collaboratively with colleagues that are running PayPal Giving Fund charities in the US, the UK, Australia, and Ireland toward this shared mission. Here's just a snapshot of some of our numbers. We funded over 14,000 charities in Canada just last year. And since we launched at the end of 2018 and through the end of 2020, we've raised over $69 million. And again, every dollar is granted on to Canadian charities. More than 845,000 donors gave to PayPal Giving Fund Canada last year, which was an increase of 223% from 2019, and we've already surpassed that number this year. Plus, the number of charities enrolling with PayPal Giving Fund Canada increased by 89% in 2020. We're currently at over 8,000 enrolled charities and counting. So how does this all work? Anyone can make donations online through Facebook, GoFundMe, PayPal, and other partners to support Canadian charities. We receive those donations as the charity of record, and we provide donation receipts to the donors. Since we are doing all of the receipting, which we do for donations of all sizes, our hope is that charities don't have that administrative burden and can redirect those resources toward other areas of need. We then grant all of the funds to the recommended charities without charging any fees for our services. These funds are delivered to charities by mailed checks if you are unenrolled, or electronically to your charity's PayPal account if you are enrolled. There are a number of benefits to enrolling, which is free to do. Once you're enrolled, we can pay out your funds more quickly and securely, and you won't need to rely on the Postal Service to receive your funds. Your dashboard allows you to track payments and access donor information where it's shared by the donor, so you may thank them. You can easily download this data for your accounting and to add the donor contacts to your fundraising outreach lists. You can also find resources for charities available on the dashboard. You'll be able to enhance your profile by adding your logo, keywords, and other information to help donors find you more easily on our partners' platforms. And you'll also be able to benefit from all of our partner programs, which could expose your charity to many more potential new donors and bring in more dollars. So what's the process to enroll in order to enjoy these benefits? First, you need to have a PayPal business account, and you can use one you already have or sign up for a new one. Then you confirm your account belongs to your charity, and we partner with TechSoup to do these charity validations. So if you're already signed up with them, this part will be even easier. Once you've been verified, we'll confirm your eligibility and enroll you automatically. Once you're enrolled, you can start accessing your dashboard and start taking advantage of the benefits for enrolled charities. Here are some of the digital fundraising tools that we are powering with some of our partners. I'm going to focus more of our time on explaining the PayPal tools during this session, since there are a number of resources out there, including on the Charity Village website, that can walk you through how Facebook fundraisers and GoFundMe campaigns work. This is the homepage for the PayPal Fundraiser Hub. Anyone with internet can access this site, find your charity, and make a donation. The middle screenshot is an example of the search results. You can see the difference between how a charity presents if they are enrolled with a logo and multiple cause area tags versus unenrolled where there is no logo. When you click on one of those search results, you are taken to that charity's specific page. And you can see Save Our Scruffs page there as an example, where additional information will show up from your profile if you're enrolled, and donors can make their donations. If you are unenrolled, this page will just have basic info like your name, CRA number, and location pulled from the CRA data. This charity page is where you can easily point donors to make online donations, and you will receive 100% of the donations we receive through this site. PayPal has also revamped its mobile app to act as a digital wallet. There's also a whole section of the app dedicated to giving, as you can see in the screenshot on the left. From this homepage, users can search for your charity and donate to benefit your charity with only a few taps, and again, 100% of the funds are granted to the charity. Give at Checkout is a new PayPal product that enables consumers using PayPal to check out, or who are using PayPal at checkout to add a $1 charitable micro donation to their purchase, similar to when you're asked at the grocery store checkout to donate to the store's selected charity. However, in this case, the customer can actually have control over which charity they are shown in checkout by setting their favorite charity in their PayPal account. This is one of our partner programs that is only available to enrolled charities. So again, I encourage you to enroll. Here are the screenshots that show where a PayPal user can set their favorite charity. The mobile interface is shown on the left, and the desktop web page on the Fundraiser Hub is on the right. When a user sets your charity as their favorite, anytime they check out using PayPal, your charity then is shown to them, asking if they want to add a $1 donation to their purchase. In just a few months after Give at Checkout was launched last year, we saw over 400,000 donations, which of course translates to over $400,000 of additional unrestricted funds for Canadian charities. In fact, PayPal found that donors who set a favorite charity are 4 times more likely to make a Give at Checkout donation, and charities pay no fees for Give at Checkout donations. Here's where I'll pass it back to Brock.
Thanks, Wenchi. So now, by this point in the presentation, we've covered the landscape and some context. We now have just had a crash course on this no-cost tool that's available to you. And so if you're still with us at this point in the presentation, what we want to do next is we want to start putting some of this information together. We want to try and leave you with some very practical next steps, so that if you haven't yet started your year-end campaign fundraising, or if you're in the early stages of it, we hope that you have some information now that we're about to cover that's going to be really helpful and practical. I've run a lot of campaigns over the years, and I found that a very necessary first step, whether you like it or not, is you need to get the buy-in internally. Maybe this is just your board. Maybe you just need to tell yourself this so that you have some confidence that you can move forward with this, trying something new. Now, if what you just heard about the PayPal Giving Fund platform is interesting to you, and the fact that it costs nothing is interesting to you, then you may find yourself in a position of having to justify the time and the effort into using this new tool. But there's no risk in testing. The PayPal Giving Fund Canada, it's a registered charity and is powered by, like we mentioned earlier, a very, very trusted payment processor that is familiar to many of your donors. This tool in particular, it's not very resource intensive. You'll have to put in some time, and when she walks through what some of those steps are, but you don't have to put down money up front. And as a charity that may have just achieved its registered charitable status days ago, for all I know, that might be a really attractive proposition to you. If you're in a digital fundraising position of having done nothing, and you're out there, I talk to people who find themselves in this state. If you have done nothing, that first step can be very daunting and very uncertain and sort of be fraught with a lot of anxiety about what might come next, or are you making the right first move? Well, this is one platform that makes it very easy to go from nothing to something. When you're a 7-figure organization a year, or 8-figure organization years down the road, hopefully not too many years down the road, will you still be relying on low-cost donation processing tools? Not likely, but we all have to start somewhere. And as you do grow, a tool like PayPal Giving Fund Canada or another low-cost donation processing tool online, it can be a supplement to the more advanced tool that you put in place. It doesn't have to replace them. You don't have to always be taking one out and putting another in. These are tools that are available to the general public, whether you're actively using them or not. So to have a plan for them and to understand that they already exist in the ecosystem of online giving in Canada is a very helpful place to start. So build up familiarity early and you'll be more confident down the road. And let's not lose sight of the fact that many Canadians, 8.9 million in Canada, are using PayPal. Many of those likely have the app on their phone, which means they have in their pocket the ability to set your charity as their favorite charity. And you need every advantage that you can get on your side as a charity who is trying to grow its community online. And so this feels like a quick win.
So how do you get started? Well, the first step would be that we would recommend is to simply enroll with PayPal Giving Fund. Again, it's free and you'll be able to access all the tools and benefits that I described earlier. Another thing you can do is to validate your status with Facebook in order to access the additional fundraising tools that they offer. You can take control of your charity's Facebook page to customize it and add a donate button to your page. We are working closely with Facebook to encourage them to start sharing Facebook donor information, which only charities validated with Facebook will be able to access when they do. Finally, you can add the link to your charity's page on PayPal's Fundraiser Hub that I showed you earlier to your own website and include it as an option for ways to donate. So you saw how enrolled charities with updated profiles were easier to spot in the search results. Once you're enrolled, make sure to go into your profile on your dashboard to upload your logo and add in your mission statement and as many keywords as you can. Some of the data from your profile will port through to our partners' platforms as well. And having a complete profile will help donors find you and improves your online brand presence. Then you should go into other tabs on the dashboard to download your donation data for your records. And there's no need to send receipts for any of those donations since, again, PayPal Giving Fund has already provided the receipts to the donors. At the moment, you can download 6 months worth of data in a single file. So although we're working to expand this, if you want to download data from a bigger date range, you just may need to do this in more than one batch. You may also want to set a reminder to log in and download your data regularly so that you can thank the donors who have shared their info. And if you receive funds from Facebook fundraisers, you can also use the fundraiser information to find and thank the fundraiser creator, since you'll want them motivated to create more fundraisers to benefit your charity. And as I mentioned before, there are resources available on the dashboard that we will be adding to. To really leverage the Give at Checkout feature, for example, we encourage you to notify your supporters who use PayPal to ask them to set your charity as their favorite, especially in advance of the holiday shopping season. The Give at Checkout toolkit that is in the resource library includes sample emails and social media posts that you can use to do that.
So now at this stage, you've got buy-in. You got some market data about the state of online giving in Canada. You have a tool that you can process these new donations at no cost. Now we really got to get down to it, right? We got to start. How do we actually raise the money? Email is where the conversion magic happens when it comes to fundraising. Social media is really, really great for building community. Websites are really great at providing that essential background that's going to help your donors or your potential donors make that decision to give. Your display ads, like on Google search ads or Google image, they're great for building awareness because they can get your brand in front. But if you really want to get serious about your fundraising program online, you need to have an email marketing plan in place. And underpinning all of that is the list. The list is the make or break feature of your program. So make sure that your list is up to date. So let's just make sure that you've uploaded and you've added any people that you have the permission to be able to contact into that list. You want every possible prospect to be included. If you had an event recently, make sure those emails are on your list. If you just had a new set of volunteers register and they opted into communications, put them in your list. You want that list to be as up to date as possible with people that you're able to contact. You have the permission to contact. And is your list organized? So if you are bringing in emails from an event, from volunteers, from board members, chances are whatever platform you're using has some ability to tag those people. MailChimp calls them tags, others call them segments. Whatever your platform is probably has the ability to do that. And I highly recommend that you do. You may hit send on the whole list all at once on your next fundraising ask, but to be able to unpack and somewhat keep track of which segments performed well is the type of really rich early stage data that you're going to be able to use to make your next ask a little better and your next ask a little better. And it'll also help you in the future to be able to remove some of those groups if you don't want them to receive a specific appeal or ask. Now that you know that email is the fundraising workhorse, you need to make a plan. You need to schedule. One way that you could, here's what a sample schedule might look like days away from Giving Tuesday. For people watching a recording in the future, you should know that we're giving this presentation literally just a few days away from Giving Tuesday. So I'm not going to try and give you too much that would be too hard to handle for a Giving Tuesday strategy. But if you are 5 days out like we are right now from Giving Tuesday, I think if you don't have a Giving Tuesday email planned, you could fit one in. Draft up something now, load it up into your email marketing platform, and get ready to hit send on the 30th. You have very little to lose. And on the upside, you might get some of those donors who would have given later in the year to give earlier, which means you can thank them earlier. And just means that you can start to maybe distribute some of the workload that you would expect to see typically confined or condensed into the last few days of the year, and you might start to be able to spread it out a little bit. December 15th could be your second email. This is where you say how much your donations are making possible, the impact that they make possible. The 29th, you're getting right down to the wire. You could tell them how much potential 2022 has, but I'll let you write the but. December 31st, it's the last chance to give. Whether we like it or not, many donors wait until the very last second to give. I have spent many a New Year's Eve processing donations on behalf of donors, and in a bedroom, answering a voicemail, writing down a number so that I can process it in the system so that it initiates and processes a 20 whatever year it was tax receipt. It's the nature of it. Know it, plan for it, and that reminder right at the end will help. It really will help. And when you're planning all these asks, you should be planning your thank yous. Don't forget to plan the stewardship. This is an opportunity not only to thank them, but to set the stage for the year to come and the big plans that you've got and the way that they can help. So if you are planning a Giving Tuesday ask, my advice is keep it quick and simple. A one-time donation before time runs out. And if you are enrolled in the PayPal Giving Fund, then this is a chance where maybe you would want to ask them to set you as your favorite charity. This is a way for you to just maybe give them one little thing to do if that's what they're looking to hear from you. If they want to help, here's something for them. And Giving Tuesday is your opportunity to do that. Some smaller charities grow on the back of peer-to-peer campaigns because the network effects of having friends asking friends, family asking family is very powerful, and it can be very cost effective as well. If that sounds like you, then you need to get started on that very soon. It's November 25th. If you were to ask people to get those started on or soon after Giving Tuesday, they're going to need a little bit of time to get their ask in order, to get prepared, to send that out, for those responses to come in, for them to remind. These things take time and they take several weeks. And if you want to see those returns this year, this calendar year, then you need to get started soon. Facebook fundraisers are a very viable way of doing that. People who use Facebook tend to like Facebook and they're very familiar with the interface of it. And that tool is built, it is what it is. Facebook is what it is because it's very good at proliferating messages through communities. GoFundMe is also an option for where you could raise money and is powered by the PayPal Giving Fund in the end. So donations through Facebook, donations through GoFundMe will also flow into the same dashboard where direct donations through the PayPal Giving Fund are being processed. And year-end donation asks, these are very time limited. If they want a donation for that year, they're going to have to give it by midnight in their time zone on December 31st, and they may need that reminder. And I don't think that you should be shy about giving them that reminder if they have not responded to anything else up to that date. I don't think you should make your tax receipt ask as like the motivation for giving throughout your entire year-end campaign, but on December 31st, I do think it has a time and a place for a certain group of people. I hope these are the sort of things that you can build into your plan. If you're using social media, and you should, some form of social media, you want your social media to support what you just planned and scheduled out on the email side. On social, posts that have higher levels of engagement, they tend to travel further and faster in your network. When you first hit send on a post to the people who are currently following your page, you may only reach 5 or 6% of them as what they call organic reach. But if that first 5 or 6%, who are a little bit of like a test balloon, engage with that post, whether it's through a like or a share or a comment or a reshare, that's going to signal to the Facebook algorithm that this is good. This is a good post because people are engaging with it. And that's how you're going to reach 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%, maybe even more of your list without having to pay for the privilege of reaching those people. So plan for and try to elicit higher engagement, which might just mean having to actually ask for something. So if you want people to like a post, like it. You want them to share it, share it. You want to comment, say, share in the comments your X, Y, and Z. Timing also is very important with your posts. If you're not paying, if you're not laying down a lot of cash to run a paid advertising campaign on social, you need to use every tool in your toolkit. And timing is a very important one. Trying to understand what timings work best for your posts with your audience is not a perfect science, but there's some information that's available to you. If you're an administrator on your Facebook page, in the settings, there is a charity page insights on the left-hand side column. And within those insights, you will see the timing of highest engagement on the posts that you shared in the past. It may not be much, but it's a starting point. And so if you are seeing a trend that people on your list respond well to evening posts, then you might want to plan for that and work around that. But depending on your who your audience is and who your audience is made up of, when your audience engages might be very different from when some other charities' audiences engage. So I highly recommend you familiarize yourself with some of these free native analytics tools that are inside Facebook. Twitter has them as well. LinkedIn has them as well. Familiarize yourself with those and begin to try and look for little hints and clues that are worth exploring a little further. And my last point here is to state the obvious. No, it's okay, Wenchi, you can leave it there. The last point is just to state the obvious. When you need something, ask for it, please. When you need something, please ask for it, because this is a really common mistake that young charities tend to make, or early stage fundraising programs tend to make, is that you think if you just do good work on the programming side, the money will flow. And trust me, I wish that were true. I would like that to be true, that if to raise money, all we had to do is continue delivering impact and high quality programming. But the truth at this point in time is that if we need donations, we're going to have to ask for donations, and you shouldn't do so apologetically. This last slide is just a summary, a little checklist that after this session, you can take this away. It's a checklist you can use this year or next year. We hope that it's just a little simple, practical takeaway from this session. And thanks so much. Look at us. We've intentionally, we have left some time for any questions or discussion from the audience. And while we wait for some of those to roll in, I want to say thanks. I enjoyed this and appreciate the opportunity to share some of this knowledge.
Yeah, me too. I hope that we fulfilled the promise that we made at the start of this session in terms of what you would get out of our webinar. Please let us know in the chat if we haven't, or if you have any questions. But we are open to answering any questions.
Awesome. Well, the questions are rolling in, so I'm going to jump right in. And I'm first going to ask Wenchi, if you don't mind backing up a slide. We've had a couple of folks ask if we could have the checklist back up just for them. But I will also remind everyone at this time that we will send the slide deck as well with the full video recording. So you will have access to the slide deck, all of the wonderful links that have been shared as well. I know that Wenchi and Brock have set up a few appendix slides as well with additional links for you. So lots and lots of resources there. Okay, so let's dive right in. Does PayPal offer any donor information so that charities can steward their donors and add them to their marketing lists?
Yeah, so if you enroll with PayPal Giving Fund Canada, you are able to access your dashboard, which would include the donor information. So where the donor has consented to share their information with the charities, it's all there in the dashboard. So you're able to download that very easily and add those donor contacts to your lists.
Fantastic. And is PayPal Giving only for registered charities, or can nonprofits take advantage of this as well?
It is just for registered charities. Due to the CRA regulations, we can only fund registered charities with the funds that we receive.
Great, thank you. And we've had some questions about Facebook fundraising. So just a general question, what do you both think about Facebook causes? How easy is it to get approved, and what's the effectiveness like on those campaigns?
I can share some personal experience. The confirmation process when you're signing up for the Facebook giving tools requires some preparation. They will tell you right off the bat, when you're in there and you want to unlock the donation giving tools, you will have to verify that you are in fact the charity that you say you are. And it gives you a list right up front of the materials. I'm going to miss a few of them, but like you probably are going to have your articles of incorporation. I believe there is photo identification of your most senior ranking staff person or representative. And there's a few others. I would say screenshot that or write them down. Then go get all of those and have them maybe on your desktop or in a folder. Have them handy, because you can't save and come back to your application. But if you have those materials handy, it's quite simple. You submit, and the verification process doesn't take too long. I don't want to, because I know we're being recorded, I don't want to make an incorrect estimate, but my recollection is that it doesn't take too long. If you are hoping to be able to use those tools for Giving Tuesday, you might want to maybe do it this afternoon if you're hearing about this for the first time. But more generally, what is the benefit of Facebook? I believe that was part of the question as well. It's the familiarity is really tough to beat. The familiarity that the end users, so these are your donors or your potential donors, the familiarity with that platform goes a very long way. There are many different peer-to-peer fundraising platforms available, from very low-cost tools to very high-cost custom implementations from the biggest tech solutions in our sector. And those big tech solutions they do their absolute best to create a user experience that is easy and familiar, but it's never going to be quite as easy and familiar as Facebook is to a Facebook user. The Facebook algorithm is also very good at encouraging people to participate and to engage, and then sharing that into other people's feeds when that's happening. So if you've ever had in your Facebook feed, when she liked this, and then it's a post from someone you don't know at all, that's an example of them helping to proliferate a message throughout a network. And that's incredibly valuable to try and reach in and find those new audiences. So that's the upside to Facebook fundraising, for sure. A downside is that the Facebook information, the donor information, is withheld by Facebook before it's transferred over to the PayPal Giving Fund dashboard. So when you log into your PayPal Giving Fund dashboard, you won't have the name and full contact information of those donors who gave their donation through Facebook. That happens before it comes through to the PayPal Giving Fund dashboard. What you can see on that dashboard, however, is the name of their fundraiser, and you could, with a not too much sleuthing, you could, with the name of that fundraiser, search for that in Facebook and very likely find it, because every Facebook fundraiser created by anybody, no matter your profile privacy settings, is public. Anybody can see anybody else's Facebook fundraiser. So you could go and find that fundraiser, and there, as a brand page, you could engage, you can thank them, you could share additional resources. So the user stewardship, or the donor stewardship cycle, is not as proprietary as like first party managed as fundraisers would want, but there are costs and there are benefits.
That's great, Brock. Thank you so much. Going to pass this one over to Wenxi. Does PayPal take a percentage of the donations?
So for all the donations that are coming through PayPal Giving Fund Canada, there are no fees that are taken off of the donations at all. So our partners are covering all of those fees. If you are a charity that is using PayPal to receive donations directly, as you know, you're using PayPal to process your own donations directly, those are the donations that would be subject to the fees. And if you're a registered charity and you've been validated as a charity, you actually are able to take advantage of the discounted charity rate that PayPal offers. But that's if you're receiving donations directly, and then you would have to receipt on those. But any of the donations that you're receiving via PayPal Giving Fund, where we're sending you a grant payment that is a consolidation of all the funds that we've received to benefit you, there are no fees that are attached to those. So what I'd shown earlier with the donations coming through the PayPal Fundraiser Hub, as well as through the PayPal mobile app, There are no fees associated with those funds. So if a donor gives $100, you're receiving $100. Same with the Facebook fundraisers, and that's how we work. Is we're not actually charging fees on any of the funds that we receive.
Great, thank you. Okay, so how do you recommend balancing a Giving Tuesday ask with a year-end ask when your email list is small? Angela says we don't want to be asking the same people for money too often.
Fair enough. I think that if you're concerned that you're asking too much of them in too short a period of time, you could suppress certain groups from certain emails. So I'll use MailChimp because it's very popular. I'm going to use MailChimp, but it's by no means the only platform that allows you to do this. Is that if you have a Giving Tuesday ask and you have a year-end ask hot on the heels of that, say 3, 4, 5 days later, you could, if you were concerned about unsubscribes, like an inordinate amount of unsubscribes, you could suppress people who opened the Giving Tuesday email. So in addition to people who donated on Giving Tuesday. So your criteria for your audience selection might be something like, we're going to send to everyone, but not people who opened the Giving Tuesday email. So then who you're sending it to are people who didn't even open the first one. So you'd be putting a little too much thought and giving them a little too much credit for the amount of time and consideration they may have given to that email, which if they didn't open it is next to nothing, if anything. So you can segment your list in that way, and you could continue to do that each time. That would be a pretty aggressive strategy to minimizing inconvenience to people if that's what you think you might be doing. But honestly, I think that if, like I mentioned a little earlier, I think you should feel confident in asking for this support if you actually need the support. If you really do need the donations, you should be asking unapologetically for it. And if people want to unsubscribe, they may well unsubscribe. You know, these emails are arriving at into people's inboxes at different times, different places in their life. You don't know what they're going through, and they may unsubscribe. And you will always have people who unsubscribe, and you won't always know why. So I think listen to the feedback of the people who provide it, but I'd caution you against making big decisions that affect your entire digital fundraising program because of a vocal minority of a few people who thought you might have asked one too many times. I think you listen to those people, you take that feedback to heart, you contrast it against what else happened on that campaign, how many people did open it, how many people did donate, and you might need to adjust the subscription settings of that individual if they feel like it's too much for them, and you should honor that. But I'd just be careful not to do long-term damage to your email marketing program because one person thought it was a little too many. I hope that's helpful.
That's great. Thank you, Brock. I feel like we could probably do a whole 3-part session on email marketing. So that was a great summary. I want to also bring it back to the website because we've had a couple of questions come in kind of asking, you know, is the website really your driver of donations? And kind of in conjunction with that, should you only have one way to give on your website, or should you have multiple options for people to give?
To say it's a driver, I think wouldn't be a really an accurate characterization of the website in the digital donation ecosystem. Its most valuable purpose is to provide the information that those donors who might be hearing about you for the very first time, to give them confidence that you are who you say you are, that the work you're doing is impactful, that the donations are needed, that the leadership is trustworthy, that you are accountable and transparent. This is no easy task. They might want to know who is on your board and what did they do. There's a lot of questions there that can be answered and can be done in a static website way that social media can't quite fulfill that, and an email marketing program can't quite fulfill that. And so you're going to have many different channels that are driving people towards your website where they will find your donation form. And as that intermediate step, you shouldn't overlook how valuable it is in building that trust and closing that gift. Now, does the website on its own close the gift? No, I don't really think so. I think context matters. How did they hear about your charity to get you to the website? That is a major influencer. But I think once you're on there, you don't want to lose them. And your website could be designed and built in such a way that you don't lose them. So that's I think the biggest core functionality.
Yeah, I was going to say that we're seeing a lot of data that's showing that donors are they're researching charities online. So even if they're giving offline, they're still looking for information about the charities online. So there is still that engagement piece with your offline donor group. And so, I mean, I've just in looking at a whole bunch of different charity websites, I've seen a range, right? And I think it's a choice that a charity would have to make. I've seen websites where they're showing all the different ways that a donor can possibly give to a charity. I personally think it's helpful to be able to give donors options and kind of, for them to be able to see, oh, if I click on this link and I donate through the PayPal fundraiser site, 100% of my money is going to go to the charity. I like that about that. Or I want to give directly in the website itself because that just gives me more peace of mind that the charity is getting my money right away. You don't really know what the donor is, what they're thinking. So I think giving options is always good. And again, we think that adding us as an option or adding the various other tools as an option is always a good thing to be able to kind of meet the donors where they are and where they're comfortable to give.
I just want to loop back quickly because there is that component of multiple options to give. I think Wenxi, you just addressed multiple payment processing options to give, just in case the person who's asking, if what you're asking is one-time monthly employee giving, buy this, walk here, I think that you should be very intentional and make one very prominent, the one that you want and that you think is going to be the most impactful to your program. For a lot of charities, that's a one-time donation. Other charities, that could be membership. And for others, it could be hosting an event or organizing people. Make one prominent, but have other options available so that you're going to maximize your conversion rates with the prominent option you want most. And for the people who are seeking out the workplace giving campaign materials, it should live on your website somewhere and shouldn't be too difficult to find.
That's great. Well, I noticed we're on time, so I'm going to end things there. Wenxi, do you want to pull up the slide that has the contact information? Just as I remind everyone that we are sending the full video recording and the slide deck to all of you later today. I know we had a few questions come in that we didn't have time to get, so please feel free to reach out. The contact information is there on the screen, and I know that Wenxi and Brock would be happy to help you out. Any final comments from both of you?
No, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be with us, and hopefully we found this really useful and engaging. And again, we welcome any questions, so please reach out.
Lovely. Well, thank you again so much to both of you for presenting such a great presentation, and I love that you filled your slide deck with so many resources. It's just wonderful for everyone to access later. So on that note, again, you will get that slide deck and the video recording by email later today. The email will also have a survey link that you can fill out with your feedback on today's webinar, and we'll be sure to share that with Wenxi and Brock as well. So on behalf of Charity Village, thank you so much for joining our last webinar of 2021. I want to thank all of our wonderful presenters who made this year's webinar series possible, as well as all of our attendees. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy days to join our sessions. We will have announcements about our 2022 webinar series coming soon. You can keep an eye on that at charityvillage.com/webinars, and we'll have announcements there very shortly. Thank you all again. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day and a fantastic end to the year. Thank you so much.